Hello, this is Edith Newmeyer, and I am the author of the book, The Mystery of Adam. I'm going to talk about patriarchy again today. And I'm building on my last video, which was called, When Did Patriarchy Start? And in that video, I went into detail that patriarchy started after the fall in the Garden of Eden, when the man and the woman rebelled against God and they were disconnected from Him and became extremely selfish. Now, because the man is the stronger one, he, of course, took advantage of that situation and now started ruling over the woman. So therefore, God said in Genesis 3:16, He didn't command it, He just prophesied it, that the man will rule over his wife, and the desire of the wife will be for her husband. That's where patriarchy started. Now, the first thing the man did, he stole humanity from the woman. Now, how did he do that? Well, God gave them the name Adam, both of them. Okay, look at Genesis 5:1 and 2. Clearly states that God called both of them, the man and the woman, Adam. But first thing the man did, he kept that name for himself. So now, 6,000 years later, we all believe that Adam was the first human being. And we believe that, or at least we did that for many centuries, that only men were human. Now, some of you probably think I am not telling the truth, but it is the truth. For centuries, for many cultures, human cultures, women were actually not even recognized as fully human. Now, that even existed very, very, very long time. Okay, it's just a recent thing that women are actually considered full human beings. Okay, so when you read my book, The Mystery of Adam, that's where I am definitely giving you examples. Now, when we look at, for instance, the Greek and the Roman culture, that was absolutely the truth. Okay, women were not considered full human beings. Also, Judaism during Jesus' time was so influenced by the Greek and Roman culture that they also did not recognize that their women were full human beings. Even in the Christian church, it took the Christian church, the Roman Catholic Church, a long time to fully recognize women as full human beings. And again, you can read that in my book. So because the man was the stronger one, he took over. He took over the ruling. Now, he didn't just rule over women. Okay, the strongest male always took charge. Why? Because we are control freaks. Now, if it would have been the other way around, if women would have been the stronger sex, would they have been taking advantage of their situation as well? Of course. We see that today, that, it doesn't matter. Even if women are in charge, they're just as likely to misuse their authority as men. There's no difference. Unfortunately for women, we were the weaker sex. Also, we had disadvantages because of childbearing. And so we were more easily controlled. But like I said before, it's always the strongest male. So the strongest human being, and it doesn't matter whether you're male or female. It's the strongest human being that will keep dominating others. Okay? Now, it's not always generally the case, but it is pretty much a good case. Okay? I found a quote by Eric Hoffer, and it's in my book, The Mystery of Adam. And this quote says, "Absolute power corrupts even when exercised for humane purposes. The benevolent despot who sees himself as a shepherd of the people still demands from others the submissiveness." Okay? So, regardless if the guy in charge, is a benevolent person or not, they still demand that they are recognized as leader or in authority. Okay? So you can find this in the 3rd chapter of my book, The Mystery of Adam. But today I'm going to continue to talk about patriarchy and matriarchy. I want to compare the two, matriarchy and patriarchy. Which one is better? I wonder. Well, of course, you probably already can detect that I believe neither one is better. Okay? Neither one. Because it doesn't matter whether the man or the woman is in charge. As human beings, we always have a tendency to misuse our authority. Therefore, Christ said in the New Testament, and I don't remember, it's in Matthew, and I probably should look that up. I can't look it up right now. But anyways, Jesus says clearly that nobody should be in charge in the church. Nobody. Neither the man nor the woman. We cannot find anywhere in the Bible, in the New Testament, where Paul ever, or John, or Peter ever instructed men to be in authority over anybody. In the opposite, like I said, Jesus commanded us to serve one another. Okay? To serve one another. He says the Gentiles, and if you want to look it up, it's called, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, the Gentiles, Gentiles rule it over, but so it is not with you. Okay? If you want to be the first, you should be serving your brother or sister. Okay? It goes about like that. So you can look it up on the internet and you can find it. And it is the truth. So then when we go to Paul's teaching, especially look clearly in Corinthians. First Corinthians. And first look at 12 and then look at 14. And you can clearly see that he is telling us that both men and women are supposed to equally share in creating this community of believers. I read here in 1 Corinthians 14:6. Now, brothers and sisters, if I come to you and speak in tongues, that's not it. But he's addressing the brothers and sisters. Order of worship, that's what it is. So 26. What then shall I say, brothers and sisters? When you come together, each of you has a hymn, a word of instruction, a revelation, a tongue, or an interpretation. Everything must be done so that the church may be built up. If anyone speaks in a tongue, 2 or at the most 3 should speak, one at a time, and someone must interpret. So if you don't have an interpreter, keep your mouth shut. If there is no interpreter, the speaker should keep quiet in the church and speak to himself and to God. Okay? So then he says 2 or 3 prophets should speak, and the others should weigh carefully what is said. And if a revelation comes to someone who is sitting down, the first speaker should stop. For you can all prophesy in turn, so that everyone may be instructed and encouraged. The spirits of prophets are subject to the control of prophets. Okay? God is not a God of disorder, but of peace. So what is he saying? He's saying, brothers and sisters, when you come together, each one of you has something to say or to add to this congregation of believers, to the service. Okay? Not just one person. So when we go by this, it's very obvious that Paul wanted all believers to be equally involved. Paul is also the one that addresses the body, okay, which is the church, as one body with all members equal. He says the eye is not over the nose, or the hand is not over the foot. He says all parts of the body are just as equally important. Okay? Nobody is over any other part. And so Paul said that very, very, very clearly, that in the church there is no hierarchy. Neither is there a hierarchy in the Christian marriage. There's no difference. Okay? I have said that in my last video. There is no difference. So what is the problem then? Is patriarchy the same as matriarchy? Many people say, oh, you know what? We should have more women pastors in the church. But if we have women pastors in the church, we are continuing again with the hierarchy. Okay? With the structure that is actually given to us by the Roman Catholic Church, who messed up the structure that we're supposed to have, and Paul instructed us to have. Okay? Paul instructed us to have a different system in our church, not a hierarchy that most churches have today. Because it doesn't matter whether a man is a pastor or a woman is a pastor. It doesn't matter. Okay? Each one of them wants to have authority over other people. And Paul and Jesus said clearly that authority is not something that we should have in our church. So, this whole thing about patriarchy and getting upset about patriarchy is really something that leads us into the wrong direction. We should get angry. We should get upset. We should be motivated to change hierarchy. Hierarchy. Any hierarchy. Whether the man is on top or whether the woman is on top. It doesn't matter. That means we really would have to change a lot of structures of the church. Many churches need to be changed. The structure needs to be changed, and we need to go back to the instruction of Paul about what I just read in 1 Corinthians 14. Now, I'm very aware that the next verse that I didn't read purposely was verse 34 in 1 Corinthians 14 says women should be silent. But again, you can read it in 12, you can read it in 14. A whole bunch of verses where it says that women and men should participate in the church equally. And then when that verse is coming up, there has to be something wrong. It cannot be right. You cannot tell women, oh, you better, speak out, or you are allowed to speak out. And then in one verse they say, oh, no, you can't speak. So there has to be a mistake there. What is the mistake? Well, many say that this mistake is that this verse was really on the margin, okay? And it was really a question for Paul to answer. And the answer is actually what I have read just a while ago in 1 Corinthians 14. That when you come together, each one, okay, has something to offer. Whether you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. Okay? And it makes sense that way. Because see, these questions that were sent to Paul or whoever, they were always written in the margin. And later on, when they wrote these things down, these questions would come into actually the main body. And then it reads like this question that they had is actually also something that Paul would be writing. Also, in the original text, there was no punctuation. So people didn't know if it was a question mark. I mean, is it a question or was it a statement? So it's very possible that that was the case, because no place in the Bible did Paul instruct women not to really speak. Okay, he did not. There's nothing in the Bible that prevents women to speak. Not even in the Old Testament. You know, when men actually really ruled over women and had authority and didn't even recognize them as full human beings, there's nothing saying that women cannot speak, nothing whatsoever. So why would Paul bring something like that up? But I need to go back about patriarchy or matriarchy, okay? Neither one is correct. We need to change our approach in the church, okay? And if women are upset about anything, I think they should exactly start where we should start, and that is in the structure of the church. Change the structure of the church to what Paul instructed us, and we will not have the problem whatsoever about who is in charge in the church. And we will have a lot less problems. I have talked a couple of videos ago about the Me Too movement in the church, and even that would go away. If not one person would be in charge, there would be a whole lot of more accountability, okay? And people would not misuse, number one, their position, and they would not misuse their gender either, okay? We would be all equal, and we would all feel responsible to equally participate in this church, okay, in this congregation, which we don't do today, because that is creating a lot of problems, because we are running the church like a worldly organization. And when you have that, when you're running the church like a worldly organization, then lots of this worldly stuff will creep into the church. And then the church will become corrupt as well. Okay? Well, I am going to do a shorter video today, and I hope that was interesting for you. I know there's lots of people that absolutely do not agree with me, especially because I'm saying there is no hierarchy in the Christian marriage as well. I cannot speak for anybody else out there. You know, any marriage, worldly marriage, you can do whatever you want, okay? But if you call yourself a Christian marriage, you're going to have to run your marriage according to biblical guidelines. You cannot just run it according to what you want it to be run. See, the problem we're having is that our churches and our marriages are run according to cultural norms. Okay, cultural norms, and I already mentioned some. The Greek and the Roman cultural norms that infiltrated into the church, okay, that were kept into, mingled with the church, the Roman Catholic Church, and they were kept in the church until today. And people saying, well, we don't have any more Roman Empire. Yeah, we don't. But we kept these cultural norms in place. And so therefore, we added hierarchy in the church, and we added hierarchy in our marriages. And we did not look we're still not looking what the Bible really says. In the opposite, we're taking verses out of the Bible and we interpret these verses exactly the way we want it. So they fit our cultural perspective of what we want and not really what God wants. Okay? Study the Bible. Study the Bible carefully. Get my book. Read my book. Or I have done lots of videos about my book. Look at the playlist under the mystery of Adam, and you can find lots, of videos about my book. And if you're interested, go on Amazon and buy my book. So I will finish up today, and I will make another video some other time.